Chapter 15. Savage Fire. Back home with his family at the airbase in Peru, Clyde learned about a Chukchi Indian who suffered from a dreadful skin disease. When Juan and his wife arrived at Pana, the Dinez family took them into their home. The man's condition grew progressively worse. Clyde saw Juan on his next trip to the Pana mission station. The sick man had all the symptoms of savage fire, one of the worst diseases in the Amazon. Small eruptions break out all over the body, causing severe itching and burning. The victim scratches 24 hours a day, never getting relief from the pain. Returning to the base, Clyde consulted the doctor at the Yurinacocha hospital. "It's a difficult disease," he said, "but I think I can help the man. I'd like to try." Clyde took the new Fernando style to get Juan. "How could you take this pitiful man into your home?" he asked Pastor Dinez. "He's such a horrible mess. I almost had to take him in the plane." Immediately on arriving at Pucallpa, the Peters transported him to the hospital for treatment. At the end of 3 months, the doctor, pleased with his patient's progress, contacted the airbase. "Juan doesn't need to be hospitalized any longer. Could you keep him at the airbase and just let him come in every day for treatment?" Eleanor helped Clyde fix a place for Juan to stay in the hangar. Seeing his new home, the patient's face turned into one wide smile. His skin appeared clean and smooth, and he didn't scratch anymore since his body didn't itch. He felt well and attended Sabbath services every week at the airbase church. Each day he walked to the hospital for another treatment. After 6 weeks, the doctor said, "Juan, I believe you're well. Tell the mission pilot you're recovered and are ready to go home to your family." Arriving at Pana, Clyde showed the patient to Augusto Donez. "Look, he's a new man." Juan's wife cried with joy when she saw her husband's clear skin. While Juan was away getting treatment, the local church members had built a small thatch hut for his family. Delighted to be home, he helped his wife cultivate a garden and joined her in attending baptismal classes. Following many months of Bible study, Juan and his wife were baptized in the Parnipara River. Weeks later, on a hot, humid afternoon, as Juan sat in front of his hut, he unconsciously started scratching. His wife observed ugly eruptions reappearing all over his body. Augusto dispatched an Indian to Balso Perito with instructions to send a telegram requesting the mission plane. Clyde recoiled at the sight of a man who seemed to be well just a few months before, but he helped Juan into the aircraft. "Savage fire has to be the worst disease I've seen," he told Augusto. He took Juan back to the hospital and then lost contact with him. Eleanor looked at her husband one morning. "Do you feel okay, Clyde?" she asked. "Not really. My head aches and I feel hot." His wife brought a thermometer and found that his temperature was 103. Still running a fever after several days in bed, she took him to the hospital. Doctors did many kinds of tests without determining the problem. Juan, the Chukchi in the same hospital, appeared to be doing well. He spent many hours in front of Clyde's room, where he'd look in, wave, and smile. Doctors finally diagnosed Clyde as having a relapse from a previous bout with typhoid fever. After they provided the right medications, he recuperated and went home in a few days. In the meantime, Juan got worse. The old eruptions appearing again, and he scratched with both his hands all day long as he fought to find relief. The doctor asked the people at the airbase to come for Juan. "We've done all we can," the physician said. "Huge doses of cortisone help control the savage fire, but the side effects have ravaged his body. He will die and we can't keep him here anymore." The staff at the airbase repaired a small thatch hut near the hangar to provide Juan a place to stay. 3 times a day, Eleanor carried food to the suffering man. In spite of severe pain, he never failed to accept her kindness with words of appreciation. Clyde's busy flight schedule, servicing schools and missions, didn't leave time for him to stop and visit the Indian. Around 10 one evening, he heard a loud knock on the door. "Juan needs to see you," a messenger said. "He wants you to come right now." "Why now?" Clyde asked. "I'm tired and I have to leave on an early morning flight." Then, sorry for what he just said, he took a flashlight and walked to Juan's shack. Juan spoke with difficulty. "Brother Peters, I want you to forgive me for anything I've done wrong. I've been a nuisance around the airbase. I appreciate what you and Mrs. Peters have done for me." Clyde felt a warm trickle of tears. "Forgive you? I need to ask you to forgive me." Peters stood there in the darkness with the humble Indian. "You haven't done a thing to ask forgiveness for. I just wish there was something we could do to help you get well. I should have come to visit you." Clyde prayed with the Chukchi, then told him good night. 2 days later, Juan died. Peter's father, visiting the airbase at the time, helped dig Juan's grave. After returning from a mission trip, Clyde learned of the funeral. "I thought I was too busy to spend more time with Juan. Alone, unable to talk with his family, he knew he was dying and called for me. He wanted to be sure all his sins were forgiven. In my heart and mind, he was a nuisance. I didn't like having him around the airbase all the time, but I'm glad he let me pray with him before he died. He may not have understood all the doctrines, but he knew Jesus." Clyde scheduled a flight to notify Juan's wife of her husband's death. "I want you to know," he told the woman, "your husband was the kind of man our family would like to spend eternity with." One day, Clyde and Eleanor went to bed early, but he could not sleep. "Clyde, why are you staying awake?" "I'm not worried about anything, Eleanor, but I should have gone to the dentist on my last trip to Lima. I've got a gnawing toothache that won't go away. Is there anything I can do?" "Not really. At least not tonight." He was silent a moment. "Eleanor, can you believe that during our 10 years in the Amazon jungle, I pulled nearly 40,000 teeth?" "I know you've pulled a lot." "One day a woman came with her whole face swollen. I cringed when I looked in her mouth. After pulling 9 teeth, I got nauseated watching a cup of pus pour out from where the teeth had been." "Did her mouth heal okay?" "Several weeks later, I flew back to her village. She was fine and asked me to pull 5 more teeth." "I've noticed that people like this woman, who live along the rivers where sugar, white flour, and candy are part of the diet, have severe dental problems. What about the remote areas?" "Indians in primitive areas where no refined foods are available have teeth like pearls." In the morning, Clyde's tooth still ached. "Eleanor," he said, "I've got to do something. My wisdom tooth's so far gone, I'm going to lose it. The pain is more than I can stand. Let me show you how to give the injection and I'll pull it myself." Eleanor's hand shook when she held the hypodermic needle in front of his nose. "Boy, you're really scared." He almost laughed. "I shouldn't have talked you into this." Still shaking, she stuck the needle in the spot he showed her. Soon it felt numb. Clyde looked in the mirror, checking to make sure he had the forceps on the right tooth. When he rolled it back and forth, it popped right out, bringing him instant relief. Eleanor didn't feel comfortable giving injections, but she loved teaching her children, and they could not have had a better teacher than their own mother. Now it was time for academy and college. "Lord, help us do the right thing for our children," the couple prayed. Continue listening.